Yep. That's the best they could do in this version. This is Illumination's terrible Grinch movie. Remember that time Benedict Cumberbatch voiced the Grinch? Well, here it is in all of its minion-coded glory. Released in 2018, this was the last grasp of a particular era in Dr. Seuss movies, and right on the tail end of Illumination notable slop. And this is some of the final dominoes falling, as following the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat movie,
That's my mom.
Awkward.
the Seuss estate actually blocked any future live-action adaptations.
That could have gone better.
Which led us to this Chris Meledandri era, taking us from Horton Hears a Who, The Lorax, and this movie. And before you point out that actually Blue Skies made that first one, and Illumination made the other movies, lest we forget that Illumination head Meledandri was first at 20th Century Fox until 2008. And it was him who had the right to make Dr. Seuss movies. And following Illumination's first stab at Seuss with The Lorax, in which they famously paired fiction's favorite eco-warrior with a car commercial. Classy. They then went to make Universal's second attempt at The Grinch. And despite the movie making over $500 million, this has been the last theatrically released Seuss movie until next year's Cat in the Hat reboot. Although I have heard great things about the Green Eggs and Ham series. But was this movie really bad enough to cause an 8-year hiatus of Seuss on the big screen? Well, let's take a look. We begin with a change up to the Illumination logo, where they include Kevin Hart's rabbits from Secret Life of Pets, in an attempt to suggest that franchise is anywhere nearly as successful as the Minions. It's Illumination doing its Illumination thing. He's the "we've made other movies" character for the sake of this exercise. Into the movie itself, and we have a landscape featuring the magical words. Putting his name right front and center for this one, it's Mr. Rights Holder right here. And though it is a nice opening to look at, it is so hard to forget the live action version opened where we zoomed into a world on an actual snowflake. And the Dr. Seuss look of that landscape was just a lot more evident. Here, the landscape's elongated in a slightly Seussy way, but I can't really tell, as this is how a lot of Illumination art styles look anyway. And maybe one of the very first hurdles that makes this movie notably getting more criticism at the door is gonna be the obvious comparisons to the live-action Jim Carrey masterpiece. You're always gonna be on the back foot, but that doesn't mean this movie doesn't have its own criticisms in a bubble too. As speaking of the Illumination staple thing to do, instead of the original Anthony Hopkins narration, we have Pharrell Williams narrating this one.
Only it's not a dream, or a hoax, or a ruse.
And then to the Who's themselves, who honestly don't look far off Illumination human characters either. Like, they are definitely the most human we've seen the Who's. I honestly prefer how they look in Blue Sky's Horton Hears a Who, and I don't like that movie either. From the gadgets to the houses, you'd be forgiven for thinking this was the Despicable Me holiday special. Taking all of the Dr. Seuss iconography and watering it down into being so unseussian. That's why we're going with the criticism today, unseussian. Word of the day. Outside the human-looking Who's, the dogs, cats, and mice and the rest of it just look like that in any Illumination movie. There's just no attempt at making them look like Seuss-ish equivalents to these animals, or nothing. We also just blast through it in the opening few minutes, as we zoom through Whoville, not really meeting any of the characters at all.
Yes, the Who's like Christmas a lot.
Before swiftly zooming up the green guy himself. And just as you think we'll be kept immersed in the world of Seuss without any pop culture, we're hard launched into this movie, begging to differ. Proceeding to play 5 different hits.
Yo, it's Christmas.
We open with the world's #1 Christmas hater, seemingly having an alarm clock that plays Christmas songs? No idea what's going on here. And because this is the modern Illumination version, we got ourselves a Pharrell-coded version of the classic song.
You're mean one.
It is literally the Despicable Me formula, reformatted. And this Grinch is just a green version of Gru.
You're a bad banana.
What What kind of skeletons does Illumination have in its wardrobe that Pharrell has a stronghold over them like this? Suspicious. Suspicious.
Autumn decoration, a town down.
One thing I do appreciate, though, is the gag addressing the long-time trope of cartoon characters wearing underwear in bed, despite being completely naked the rest of the time. Just the concept that Grinch has pants that match his fur.
Who is this mean fellow with his skin all green?
Like, it's a small detail, but I like it. And in a lot of ways, doing an animated version of the Grinch should open up to all sorts of more opportunities for gags and visual storytelling that we are going to see some benefits of. But unfortunately, I don't think it's done to its full potential via this version with this studio at this time, as we'll come to see. Because then, with all the gadgets going on with the chair that can go different levels, you can't help but see that they've kind of just copied their groove formula and stamped it onto the Grinch again. Like everything else, he's an Illumination Universe scanned version of the Grinch. The facial features just have that same sanitized look. The same goes for Max. You could throw that guy into Secret Life of Pets and it'd fit right in. He's just red. Except this time, it's not Steve Carell putting on a different accent. Instead, it's Benedict Cumberbatch doing his nasally American voice. His other voice. It's voice 2, everybody.
How much emotional eating have I been doing?
Ah, yeah. And the humor is very Illumination in this. Throwing gags like this that could have applied to any character, really. I can pretty much see any of the Illumination lineup being swapped into this emotional eating cutaway, you know? Also, maybe this is the other rendition sneaking in, but my perception of the Grinch is that he literally eats out of the trash. He's an isolated character who scavenges what he can, right? Why is he all of a sudden in what looks like a really well-kept kitchen where he's eating spaghetti and bright pink birthday cakes? His first rant here is about Christmas being somewhat underwhelming when he's doing it in an IKEA-bought kitchen. It doesn't feel like a cave, it feels like a middle-class household. But this one mention of Christmas is enough for Pharrell to throw in his next masterclass of narration.
Yes, the Grinch hated Christmas.
Everything he says is just so flat. Again, we had Anthony Hopkins in the Jim Carrey one.
Without a single who doubt.
We've gone from actual storybook voice to obliged dad reading said storybook, hoping the kid will fall asleep before he finishes.
Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason.
We then meet another character doing her best Tobey Maguire Peter Parker impression.
Wait, Sam! Hold the bus!
This is Cindy Lou's mum, could you tell? Who's a very human-looking Who doctor in this version. Modern uniform and everything. Meanwhile, the Grinch appears to be stalked by pentatonics. To be fair to the guy, I'd be weirded out if a town started chasing me through song as well. Anyway, shall we hear the most convincing curse word stand-in of all time? Ready yourself.
Sugar plum.
And just to reinforce this very contemporary looking Whoville, we have Cindy Lou's mum saying normal mum stuff.
I can't today. I have a list of errands a mile long, and the babysitter left the sink backed up.
Again, this may as well have been human character designs beyond the red nose. As for Cindy Lou,
Thanks, Mom. Bye, Buster. Bye, Bean.
she's honestly a bit more fun in this version, with more of her own personality going on. Very much a combination of the three girls. Again, this is just Despicable Me coded, but overall, I'd say she's actually one of the better parts of this movie. And when I say Despicable Me coded, it's a fair angle to point out that it is, of course, the same studio with its own art style, but considering a lot of the competition has the likes of Toy Story, Ratatouille, and WALL-E from the same studio, each being three very different movies made within the same studio, suddenly I feel like that kind of argument falls apart there. That's a studio that definitely has its own style, yet was still able to diversify the look and characterizations in their movie. And here, they're just not even trying.
Right there, Max, is the true nature of the Who child.
Something that also becomes apparent with this Grinch is that he feels like a slightly annoyed man who happens to be green and fluffy. In both the original animation and the Jim Carrey version, the Grinch feels very much like his own species and a force of nature. Here, I just don't get that. It's just Benedict Cumberbatch's fursuit. And I guess it just says a lot about Jim Carrey's performance that he was more animated than this actual animated version. And it's not entirely down to Benedict Cumberbatch either. He does a decent enough job as a voice performance, and at least does more in his Illumination turn than Chris Pratt did with Mario. But it's just the small creative decisions in there, like how he even lives and eats like a normal person, you know? Beyond him being grumpy about Christmas, there's not a lot of Grinchiness to him. He really is just a guy. Just a slightly not chill guy. Nah, that's an old meme. Never mind.
Might it be your list of demands to Santa?
We then get this bit.
There he is, Max. The happiest who alive.
With a guy who's won the Christmas superfan, and the Grinch tries to get past undetected. But the execution of this is just boring. Also, I don't endorse Christmas guy's behavior at all. He's turning on Christmas lights in the daytime. Who would ever do that?
That means 3 times the lights?
Well, you better enjoy that snow while it's still a thing. I haven't seen snow in December in over a decade. It's all rain out there. We then have a familiar shot of the Grinch on a snowy ledge. And I mean, it's nicely animated, but again, this hit way harder when it felt like he lived in an actual isolated icy cave, not a fully furnished rentable property. Usually at this point, the Grinch has experienced more frustration and turmoil in order to earn this moment. But in this version, he just kind of got annoyed at a few people. And Max being as characteristically animated as the Grinch himself, it doesn't feel as lonely in this version either. Like, in the live-action version, it's a real dog, and you can see how he's missing something. Here, Max is as present and expressive as all of the other characters, and pulls his weight in the Grinch's antics as well. It's interesting, because I actually initially thought that this is a really good version of Max. I can really get into liking him as a character. He's like an American version of Gromit, you know, a very successful, functional, silent dog. But that's also kind of not what the Grinch story needs, because it gives him a real, functional companion when he's meant to be isolated and frustrated and against the tones and themes of community and Christmas. I like this Max character, but I don't think he works in this movie. Because now that a dog like him is around the Grinch, I certainly don't feel bad for him here.
And now safe in his cave.
It's not a cave anymore, it's a converted mansion! You can't feel sorry for him being lonely as he sat in a velvet-bound armchair by a roaring fire. Where's the grotty, run-down den that Jim Carrey had? Sure, this one does kind of parallel the iconography of Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, but as much as they both hate Christmas, the Grinch isn't Scrooge. The point of Scrooge is the meanness in the face of his wealth specifically, whereas the Grinch, I feel, has his hatred of Christmas despite the result being his desolate lifestyle. Desolation in comfort is less convincing. It's the same classic Illumination story, especially for this particular era of the studio, where it's nice looking animation with very little thought behind it. Meanwhile, Cindy Lou is falling down the stairs.
Whoa!
Broken back, possibly dead. I do think that falling down the stairs is probably the bleakest cartoon to reality conversion rate. Like, statistically, the end result of falling down the stairs is not like the cartoons. It's fine here, though. She claims to be wearing 4 ski jackets. And, minion goggles? Right there on her face. It's kind of like the opposite of a Pixar background reference. It's a Illumination foreground reference. Great. Tone it down, please. Someone tell Illumination that the key to a good Easter egg is hiding them. Although looking at the Hot movie, I don't think Illumination ever really cracked down on what Easter was about.
Takes a whole month to get to the North Pole?
Where is Whoville set this time exactly? I thought they were a tiny race living on a single speck or a snowflake. I guess it's just somewhere vaguely on Earth for this one. They do basically look human in this version, so I guess it checks out. So we go back to the Grinch and his banquet table? Why is this Grinch absolutely loaded? Tell me your target audience is middle-class families without telling me that your target audience is middle-class families. Like, I know you got an upper middle-class British guy to voice him, but come on. He's a mean one who still takes the time to dress the table with a full candelabra. At least when it happened in the Jim Carrey version, he goes to specifically ruin it, and then accidentally doesn't. Love that. Wow, one of the best bloopers of all time. And improv'd as well. And it only gets better in this version, as we cut to Grinch and Max's sports car. They also want Grinch to be the sad and lonely character, whilst him and Max are clearly having a great time. Like, at least if it did some modern swing, it can talk about the toxic masculinity of men that achieve too much on a grift, own a Ferrari, and then realize they haven't made genuine human connection in years. But not only would that make this movie ahead of its time, it would also make it a massively different movie. Hopefully someone will cover that at some point. That'll be really interesting. But no worries, that was just a vision. Instead, we'll head over to his giant organ instead. Much more humble. And yes, that's him playing all by myself. Only to cut to him and Max having a loving back and forth relationship. Pick your lane, movie. Their game of chess is interrupted when the Who from earlier expresses his Christmassy cheer by further dissing the Lorax.
The most beautiful Christmas tree you've ever seen.
Just saying, a tree that big would have been 100 years old at least. Did you count the rings? And considering this is the movie that promoted the Lorax with tie-ins to cars and other pollutants, it is very Illumination to then do another Dr. Seuss movie that has beats like this that contradict the other Dr. Seuss movie. Like, one Dr. Seuss movie earlier, cutting down a tree like this was a bad thing. Yet now, it's fun to do, and the Grinch is wrong beat instead.
Oh, you just wait till we light it tonight.
Someone assess this guy's carbon footprint. There's at least one family of homeless polar bears we can pin on him alone. Can't wait for the polar bear Illumination movie. Can't wait for the resolution of this movie where the Grinch learns to use excessive energy like all the rest of us. And that it is the right thing to do, somehow.
That tree got to go.
Over to the big Who tree decorating ceremony where I'm guessing the elephants are reference to Horton. Cool. Now, one thing I will give this movie is the fact that they give the Grinch more to do than the stealing Christmas bit from the book. We get some Christmas tree sabotage as a little starter, which, to be fair, the Lorax probably would approve of.
Light up the sky.
Not on my watch, you don't.
I need to talk to you about something really important.
But, as set up by that medical uniform earlier, Cindy Lou has a sob story waiting for him.
She acts like she's fine. It's really hard for her.
All the while, Grinch is going full coyote on us, with Christmas as a concept being his roadrunner. Again, don't hate it, but that is pretty much all there is to it. It's the formula, beat for beat.
Wish I could see the look on their faces.
Right down to him hanging over a canyon. Except there's no fooling with an explosion at the bottom in this version, nor is it that funny, honestly. Instead, he gets shot at the tree and conveniently falls into everything to turn it on.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Guess it's lighter than Coyote getting horrifically destroyed. That's this movie's MO. Light, saturated, festive fluff. Anyway, it's here that the movie elects to follow its live-action predecessor with the Grinch's backstory. Something that a lot of people didn't like the first time around. Particularly as both versions quote the book with, "The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason." Only to proceed to give us the reason. And sure, it's a feature-length version of a short book, but then we're just getting into the fundamental flaw of any Dr. Seuss adaptation.
And it took him right back to his earliest years.
In this version, he's not a weird Muppet baby who gets adopted. No, he stays in the orphanage for this one. He really is Bruce Wayne in this version. And they just throw in all the basic sad words you can think of.
That lost, lonely boy, isolated and sad.
I think the reason the tragic backstory, particularly early doors, doesn't work is because part of the fun is enjoying that the Grinch is so grumpy about Christmas. We all know a Grinch to some capacity, who can be grumpy about Christmas without needing a deep tragic backstory. Some people just don't like it, but can learn to like something about it by the end. The OG Grinch in the books and the 60s cartoon didn't need to have some traumatic past with Christmas in order to have his heart grow by the end. I think that's the thing with these two feature films. They overcomplicate the character. They try and outdo Scrooge's backstory when the lack of backstory was what separated the two. But no, in this version he was an unloved orphan with bad memories of lonely Christmases. But that doesn't mean we can't laugh at him for not enjoying Christmas. It's fine. Laugh at the orphans. Ha 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 ha. This sequence of him being overstimulated and almost having a panic attack doesn't undermine that at all. Ha ha ha. Hey, yeah! I think I'm starting to feel this.
And he felt all those feelings he felt way back when.
Even though the Grinch isn't a villain per se, it's a similar principle of the misunderstood villain trope. Not only that, but the half-baked, empty orphanage sequences themselves just read as generic and hollow. How many movies have we seen with vague flashbacks of said character alone in an orphanage with no further padding? Like, either give him a proper backstory or leave it alone. Throughout the flashbacks as well, absolutely none of these supposedly nice incarnations of the Who's make an effort to approach this lonely green child. They all completely avoid him as a kid, even when he's walking around, only to all be like, cheer up, join in, once he's an adult. It's too late, guys! At least in the 2000s movie, Who's were upfront that they were bad people.
I must stop this whole thing.
I don't blame you, buddy. I don't blame you at all. Sorry though, Benedict. It'll never match.
Must find a way to stop Christmas.
Weirdly, I think Benedict would have actually been a better live-action Grinch than his animated counterpart. It's the rare case where the animated version seems to have less options. Anyway, he's back at his sad, humble, giant organ.
Ow!
Hey there, thank you for making it to the halfway mark of this video. Come subscribe if you haven't already for more animated terrible movies. I suspect this is the last Christmassy one of the year. There was a Polar Express one in the making. I think that's going to be next year now. Oops. But otherwise, let's get back to the second half of Illumination's terrible Grinch movie.
For 53 years, I've put up with it.
Very specific number, and that's because that has always been the Grinch's in-canon age. Most likely because Dr. Seuss himself was also 53 when he wrote the book, at a time where he felt he was being a bit like the Grinch towards Christmas. But rather typically, this movie released 52 years after the original Chuck Jones TV special cartoon. And yes, that's the same Chuck Jones that made the classic Looney Tunes shorts. Him and Dr. Seuss made friends whilst working on World War II propaganda cartoon. There's whole lore between the two of them. Anyway, back to the apparent Chuck Jones of today, Chris Meledandri's good work, complete with stale Pharrell narration.
Then he got an idea. An awful idea.
And yep, the iconic evil grin is too limited to the Illumination art style to come anywhere near the two other movies. I think that alone kind of wraps up this movie as a whole.
I know just what to do.
I mean, come on. Even Tim Curry matched that one in Home Alone 2, and he wasn't even playing the damn Grinch. But hey, I do love the shots of the Grinch's lair becoming more sinister. His shadow creeping on the wall like the Be Prepared number in Lion King. In fact, maybe they flew too close to the Savannah sun with that one.
So prepare yourself, Max.
Again, the visuals are often amazing. The movie is mediocre. Look at those damn mountains. They look great. Anyway, back to the Grinch's cozy kitchen, complete with kettle, microwave, and presumably all the other white goods he's got in his desolate cave. And if you're missing the back-size-based humor of the Minion movies, well... there it is. The Illumination incarnation of the Grinch is now on full display.
Genius starts with the abs, Max.
Please stop. I'm starting to miss the Mike Myers cat in a hat at this point.
Let's take a look under the hood.
And dressed in his yoga pants, he delivers his plan.
But instead of joy and happiness, I'll take it away.
Meanwhile, they're giving Cindy Lou more side quests to go on with her busy mum arc. But whilst they've given her more personality in this version, her actual subplot is less engaging this time around. Damn, can't even capitalize on the actual praises I give this movie. I mean, they haven't really connected her and the Grinch's characters much at all beyond one short scene so far. But sure, let's follow her and Bock anyway, and their secret den, and attempts at humor.
Waffles are delicious.
As Cindy Lou plots how she can accidentally bump into the Grinch later on in the movie. And even then, a lot of Cindy Lou's persona, once again, follows that Despicable Me, quick, hyperactive child formula. And just as you thought they could keep this subplot as simple as it sounds, she says the dreaded...
We're gonna need the whole gang for this one.
Yep. She has now officially summoned a group of empty side characters taking turns to say a funny line and probably complicate things more than help. I've seen Moana 2, I've seen Lightyear, I've seen how this goes. And meanwhile, the Grinch is revising, alongside what I'd say is a valid point.
Miss Pudding. How does pudding work its way into everything?
Although maybe that's ironic coming from me, IRL. I like to have my main meal and my dessert back to back, side by side, and then I'll take one spoon of one and one spoon of the other. I would eat a pudding in the middle of my meal between bites. Am I the Grinch? He then goes to find some reindeer, in which yet another animated movie jumps on the goat meme.
For a ring.
This movie is 2018. This is 7 years ago? And we're only just coming off the end of it now? I'd say it was a 2010s thing. Baffling that 2020 movies were still doing it. One Vine from 2012 goes a long way. Now they're bringing back Vine, so I guess it might get another wave soon. Anyway, after a quest through the cold where there seems to be an obligation for the Grinch to comment on everything, as if it wasn't visually clear that they were cold already, the goat meme follows them to scare away the reindeer. Except for this fat one.
Santa had 8. He looks like he ate the other 7.
Okie dokie. At the very least, there's a bit more build-up in this version of him putting his plan together. Also, the lighting during the reindeer slapstick sequence looks great. That's where I'm at in finding compliments now. The lighting. Concluding with the Grinch addressing the people who read Zootropolis fanfic.
Onward, my furry friends.
Back to the Who's and their emission-crazy Christmas lights, and we have the pleasure meeting what we may as well call the rest of the gang.
So what's up? Yeah, what's the deal?
Yep, exactly what I expected. All of their dialogue is beat for beat what you hear with every other Kid's Empty Friend characters.
Crap, Santa. Why would we want to do that? To steal all his toys.
Their two settings are either questions for the main character or lame comment joke. That's it. Oh, and one other generic line, followed by pop culture needle drop, of course.
Alright, we're in. To the climax.
Yeah, that's enough for me. Can we get back to the Grinch now? Who's now trying to steal the sleigh with equally imaginative dialogue.
Go team.
Cue mid-slapstick scene featuring Barky Dog, which, because it's Illumination, looks like it's been plucked out of A Secret Life of Pets. Must adhere to sanitized art style. And of course, the beady guy has a host of people round for carols for the Grinch to look sad at. You see, scenes like this alone could tell you about that inner sadness of the Grinch without having to splay out his backstory in no uncertain terms. Just a look, and you get it. Once again, the animators do it better than the writers here. Anyway, they get their sleigh with one final lame gag from Beardy Christmas Man.
And I don't know what's in this cake, but I think I just saw Santa Claus.
I do enjoy the Grinch letting Max and the big reindeer sleep in his bed, though.
Fine. This one time.
It's a better way of showing he does have some compassion in there. Better than he's a traumatized orphan, so all the stuff that happens at his expense is kind of sad. Anyway, into the morning, and the reindeer begins to be the penguin to Max's grommet.
That is a great cup of coffee.
To be fair, with all this Grinch's moving chairs and gadgets, he is weirdly very Wallace and Gromit coded.
Now off you go, Max.
Again, maybe a bit too inspired there. So much as to say, the Max drone doesn't last.
Oh dear.
Anyway, more Illumination humor. And just as you thought we'd get the full size of the Grinch's cave, he's also got a whole room for a scale model of the town as well.
That's 223 houses to work with.
Guy's got creativity and productivity in spades as well. He's made a mock-up living room for this presentation for 2 animals and himself. Cutting over to Cindy Lou's Trap Santa squad of varying personality, and it's all the more obvious where this whole shebang is going.
Alright, quick, everybody hide.
I'm still missing that core relationship between her and the Grinch though. Also, again, feeding back to the Grinch just being a green person and not really the creature that we've known before. There was a really big deal to the Grinch being a thing in the other versions, yet here, his presence is quite benign in this Whoville. And the plan goes to...
Do I still get to eat the cookie?
Child nudity, I guess. And back to the Grinch, we have some interesting modeling of the sleigh. Cue relatively entertaining sleigh sequence, I'll allow it that compliment. Though it does do the dumb slow-mo thing every animated movie now does. But hold our horses, big ol' Fred here has a family. And honestly, this is a nice scene for the Grinch's other side as well.
It's okay, Fred.
It just once again makes those orphanage backstory bits from earlier even more frustrating, because this stuff is where you put the Grinch's softer side in. Just these moments do way more for him as a character than needing to make this tragic figure. Why can't he just be this grouch who learns about these values from scenes like this? It's way more in line with the book that way.
On our own again, Max.
It's a beat in an Illumination movie that actually feels original. Anyway, more unconvincing storytelling from the guy with the big hat that sung Happy that one time.
It was the day before Christmas, and the Who's were abuzz.
Nailed it. With cuts between all the different human-looking Who's we've come to sort of know. I mean, not really. You could genuinely just change this to a particularly festive town of humans, and the story wouldn't change. All the while, Grinch continues to rip off Wallace.
It's the wrong trousers. The wrong trousers.
Of course, this contraption is in line with the book, and technically the Grinch and his gadgets far preceded Wallace and Gromit, so no real drama there. You do have to wonder where it all came from. The next scene, we have the guy with all the right tools for welding contraptions, sewing costumes, all in one afternoon. Ah, well, it's a cartoon. A sentence that should really just summarize my whole channel. Anyway, how did they manage to make this display of pet abuse wholesome?
Guide my sleigh tonight.
As Christmas night nears, we have the gang likewise preparing.
I read you loud and clear, Waffle 2.
Do kids even know what those are anymore? They just use their phones now, right? Well, not in Australia anymore. Surprise, surprise, we have some actual screen time from Cindy Lou's mum as well.
How did I end up with such a wonderful daughter?
We never really delve into her beyond that opening scene, which may have helped endear us to why Cindy Lou's going to these lengths a little bit more. Though one thing I will tip the hat to is depicting a single parent household positively for once. So many movies would go down the broken family route, but instead we have a single mother who is great with all her kids without needing to touch on divorce or anything like that. It's a family with one parent, and that's okay. I would have loved to have learned more about her, but at least there's some positive representation in this high-profile movie. And with that out of the way, we finally reach what I guess we can call the main bit.
House number 1.
The two fundamentals have been started. He hates and he steals Christmas. This is the way. Though, unlike the book and the other movies, this one's simply called The Grinch, instead of the How the Grinch Stole Christmas title, so they weren't obliged to it. But of course, if you turned up to a Grinch movie and he just didn't bother, you probably want your money back. I mean, I personally would have asked for it a while back now, but at least I'm able to watch this for free on streaming. And what can I say? This version of him doing his thing is still fun to watch.
And they knew he'd cause sadness.
For everything I can say about Illumination, they are a competent studio with Hollywood backing, so I'd be impressed if they cocked this up. If they couldn't make a decent realization of the Grinch stealing presents, their success would frankly be a miracle. I think the thing that does stand out for me though is that once again, you could swap in Gru for this version of the Grinch. Some of the inventions this Grinch uses are incredibly Despicable Me. And again, the Grinch has always had his own inventions. The spring-based ones we see are a signature of the guy at this point. And the shots of him walking across the roof with his springy stilt are among the best in the movie. But his multifaceted cane with magnetic blue beam and grappling hook doesn't fall far from the minion-topped tree. Illumination just swapped the moon for the Christmas tree.
He scooped up the toys.
The visuals are great though, and it's fair to say that we've never seen the Christmas stealing operation quite at this scale. The lights from the house being vacuumed directly into the sleigh. A sleigh with a stacking system that I'll call Polar Express physics. Like, just make a bigger sleigh, guys. Also, they dropped Max pulling the sleigh pretty quickly. As we soon see, the thing was completely motorized after all. Guess it was just an aesthetic choice. And with our little countdown here for all the houses he's broken into, you'll never guess who's in the
Last house.
Emphasis on who, of course. Easy to forget when you just look at these cartoonish humans.
He's here!
Yeah, the thing set up earlier happens.
I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
Very Canadian Cindy Lou we've got here. And this is actually one of the things they've changed that I quite like. Not the Canadian thing. I mean this.
I want you to help my mom.
Your mom?
Because usually at this point, Cindy Lou does just go up to bed and Grinch steals the whole room. But here, we pivot to a more proactive Cindy Lou character. She's not just a little girl to witness the Grinch and go, wow! And I actually prefer using her in this way to tap into the Grinch's empathy, rather than just waiting for the Christmas morning scene.
Everyone should be happy, right?
It personalizes the Grinch's arc directly from Cindy Lou, despite this being the only scene that they've properly shared in this version. I'd say it's gentler than the live-action version where she nominated the Grinch to be Holiday Cheermeister anyway. And again, this present tense revelation would have done the job fine without the Grinch having the whole orphanage backstory.
Good night.
Good night.
You do see potential of what this movie could have been in this scene, but I do think there is something missing with having not as much interaction between the two prior to this scene. Just give the Grinch some more familiarity of Cindy Lou beforehand. Anyway, as he contemplates the concept of compassion, the morning comes with everything still stolen.
Who would do such a thing? Who would stoop down this low?
You know who did it, Pharrell. You've been watching the movie. Anyway, in this version, they don't just start singing without a word, we actually get them discussing the potential moral here.
He didn't steal Christmas, he just stole stuff.
In a much calmer fashion than the Jim Carrey one, where the mayor pins all the blame on a little girl in front of the whole town. For some, this may mean this version's too sanitized and benign, rather than the 2000 version being more cynical. I think it's a bit of both. But the moral of the story has always been of valuing the sentimental values of Christmas over the materialistic ones. And that's certainly highlighted here. I think outlining that before they start singing's just an extra beat to personalize the revelation between Cindy Lou and her mum, whilst making it clear to the young target audience.
What's that? Do you hear it?
And zoning into Cindy Lou in this moment, it just further cements the impact of that exchange between them in the scene just before. I definitely think it's stronger than the Grinch broadly reacting to the song in general. This gives him a focal point. Anyway, his heart does the thing, and it's time to save those presents. And would you believe it? The reindeer from earlier just turns up. The whole family's there and able to pull a whole city's worth of Christmas paraphernalia. Shame it's not the reindeer that's called Max, because we would have called this thing a Deus Ex Machina. I'm sorry. But yes, the Grinch sets off to return the stuff, horn in hand. All in aid to give us the mushy resolution.
I stole your Christmas because I thought it would fix something.
Well, it's not a very long speech, which just to clarify isn't a bad thing.
It was short. I loved it.
Man, I do actually quite like the ending parts of this movie, because he doesn't get his happy ending immediately, and we don't have everyone immediately inviting him to be with them. They just watch him go, unsure what to say. Who would do that? Sure, when he just stole and then returned everyone's presents. Like, does he still get arrested for that? What do you do? Anyway, he goes home, and now we've seen him in the suit for so long, it kind of feels like he strips off when he goes back to naked again. Remember, kids, he's technically wearing underpants. And as a start to his new agenda, he gets Max a bone. Ain't that nice?
That's gonna get old.
That old chestnut that convinced me as a child that dogs only ate bones like we ate food. Thanks for keeping that legacy alive for generations, Grinch 2018. And just to emphasize the lack of interaction between these two characters in this version.
My name is Cindy Lou.
It's nice to meet you, Cindy Lou.
But hey, she's here to conclude narrative proceedings and invite Grinch to Christmas dinner.
But why?
You've been alone long enough.
Leading us to a really sweet ending to a mediocre movie. Look, he wore a tie.
I wore a tie.
He does just become a normal, socially anxious guy here, whereas in the Jim Carrey one, he was still very much a Grinch after his character resolution. But it's fine. It is as safe, sanitized, and Illumination-y as you'd expect. But I do like the change of pace with this gentler Christmas dinner ending in this one. It just fits the ideals of what they wanted to get out of the moral of this story, as opposed to the guy cutting down a huge centuries-old tree and covering it in lights. He's here too, by the way.
Come on, Grinchy, give me a hug. Oh.
And then we wrap up with the most benign preschool stating the obvious speech that they could have thrown in there.
It wasn't Christmas I hated. It was being alone.
Probably the weakest part of Cumberbatch's performance as well. It's just very, what did we learn today, kids? But because the 2012 joke hadn't had enough screen time already, they decide to make that the final beat of the movie. Play it. And that's it. That's the movie. Became a bit of a roller coaster at the end there. I actually kind of liked a couple of the latter parts of the movie. I think the core thing is here what I alluded to earlier. And that is the Grinch is just kind of a normal guy with a cold personality. He's probably the least Grinchy incarnation. His cave's fully kitted out and is as bright and vibrant as Whoville, so there's not really contrast to be had, and his life doesn't look as gloomy as the story wants you to think it is. Beyond using some green mouth spray at the start, he doesn't seem as gross as the other Grinches either. And he's also saddled with that trademark Illumination cute look, so that iconic evil Grinch smile looks like it's at half mast as he's had plastic surgery or something. It's giving Shrek from the Shrek 5 teaser. It's the corporately appealing design of Grinch for merchandise. And that summarizes this take on the story in general. It's very safe and generic. The live action one, whether you like it or not, took a big swing at least. If you're gonna try and break this short story into a feature-length movie, big swings kinda have to be taken. This one is perfectly fine to stick a child in front of, and I guess that's its one real purpose, really. But perhaps it's one of the worst adaptations in actual cinematic, artistic, narrative depth, and so for that, it's so very Illumination. And why I'll be marking it as Illumination's terrible Grinch movie. For now, though, my name's been Dazz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell us your thoughts on the Grinch. This one, and the others. We won't ever cover the others. They're not 3D animated. But I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and dissections. And otherwise, I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!